What's up guys, welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another versus / storytime video. In this video we are going to take a look at the latest Heretic challenge that we got, and of course this is going to be on the challenge quest. This is specifically on the Kefka LD banner challenge quest. So if you guys are confused or watching this in a later time, that this is what it is. So let's talk about the fight. First and foremost, let's talk about my team, which I picked up Kefka. Obviously I've maxed him and broken him. I also got his LD and burst and pretty decent artifacts as well. Not the perfect artifacts, but pretty decent. The next character I have is Lise, because no one really uses Lise. Currently she is, I think, just EX plus on my account, and the next one is Freya, which I do believe is also just EX plus. She could be EX plus 1, but I do believe both of them are just EX plus. And yeah, that's pretty much my team. I don't think you need anything higher than that. If you have Kefka, he pretty much will carry your damage output. So let's talk about wave 1 first. Wave 1 is this Phoenix. It will have a second life. It will reincarnate. The biggest thing here is if you're using Kefka, I do highly suggest using his LD once you applied all the buffs, especially when you're about to kill it, because if you don't have any frame debuffs, it will remove the debuffs when it revives. So having it framed definitely helps not to reapply it once again. Other than that, it does use an HP attack, but if you do have Kefka, once again, you can avoid this by using Trine. So really not a big issue altogether. If you are planning to use other characters like Seymour instead of Kefka, I mean, it's still, I think it's doable, but you do need a much better team surrounding him. Who else is the debuffers there? I can't really remember on top of my head, but for the most part, the debuffs are very important because they are going to be reducing the amount of incoming damage you are going to be taking. You do need a healer to a certain extent, especially if you don't have Kefka to HP silence. Otherwise you should be fine in this particular wave. Okay, now let's move on to wave 2, which you will be fighting two behemoths. This one is pretty straightforward. We have fought so many behemoths. You must have fought so much behemoth bosses from this point in time. So the biggest thing here is, once again, making sure that you do frame your debuffs if you are using Kefka. The biggest thing here is to prevent them from actually buffing themselves. When they target themselves, they will be putting up a lot of buffs on themselves, and if your debuffs aren't framed, they are going to be pushed off. So that is the biggest thing here. They don't particularly have a high HP in my opinion, and again, they aren't that scary. They usually use lightning lash or something like that. And that's pretty much what they did to me. Now there is still a chance that they will do an HP attack, but once again, if you have Kefka, try and basically make sure that you don't actually get hit by that. If you're not using Kefka, just bring a healer and you should be fine. They shouldn't really be able to one-shot you, and that is of course if you don't get multiple breaks, or if they break you multiple times, then there's a chance that they can do a ton of HP damage, but I haven't really seen it, so mainly because I use Kefka, so I didn't really have any issues. But they are basically the same behemoths we've fought once like, I don't know, so many times now. Okay, now let's talk about the last wave, which you will be fighting two Sahagins, which I still have nightmares of these bosses from Fang's Lost Chapter, and when Fang's event as well. So yeah, biggest thing here, I just saved up my burst. If you have the burst, save it up for this one. you have the summon still up, save it for this one. I would highly suggest saving your summon for this one. And I pretty much just burned them down to the ground. I didn't give them a chance to actually do too much. And if you have Kefka, you can make sure you apply the frame debuffs, or make your debuffs frame with his LD ability, and that makes sure they can't buff themselves. That is another thing here. The gimmick for this particular fight is the bosses do buff themselves quite a bit, and you do want to avoid that. There's still a lot of AOL attacks here as well. That is another one of their gimmicks. I never really got to the point where the Sahagians really did any HP attacks to me, because once again I did just, you know, burn them down as fast as possible, because I really don't want to deal with them, because I have like post-traumatic disorder with them. PTSD, if you guys don't know. But otherwise, the fight itself was pretty straightforward. Again, if you have Kefka fully limit broken and fully geared up, you basically can use any characters in the boosted or the synergy characters, even though they aren't going to be really useful. Kefka can carry any one of them in this particular fight. But yeah, that's all. I think overall, I think the fight itself was pretty straightforward. Wasn't that hard. It's probably because I used Kefka, but you know, I'm not here to make it harder for myself. I'm here to make sure it's much easier for you guys as well. So I highly suggest using Kefka here if you do have him. If you don't, just get another debuffer. Like I said, Seymour is pretty decent, and I still can't remember who the other debuffers in the banners are. Now that I think about it, I think they are the only ones, right? So Shadow is there, Eric's there, Freya's there, Lisa's there. Yeah, they're the only two debuffers. So I guess if you don't have Kefka and if you have Seymour, just switch them around. Seymour can still be pretty good, especially when the bosses go down, you know, their HP goes down below, what was it 30% or something like that. He does more, but he scales pretty well in terms of, like, depending on the boss's HP or enemy's HP. So he is another option. I would suggest Shadow as well as one of the better DPS. I could have probably used Shadow here, to be completely honest, and he has that high dodge rate as well, so you don't have to worry about him getting hit. And he does have that counter if you have max limit broken. Interceptor does a pretty decent amount of damage. Let's just say that, because Interceptor ignores defense, so he is probably one of my top picks. Like I said, I probably would have used him here, but I haven't used Lise at all, if I remember correctly, so I did want to use her at least once. That's my whole reason. And Freya was here for basically healing, but Aerith is a pretty decent one as well. Now you do need to build her up with her artifact passives and such. At least for her healing wind, I believe it was. You don't need the prayer, etc. Increase ability usage. I think she's much better off with attack 108 and the charge for her healing wind, because I think that gives a party aura as well. You can correct me down in the comments below if I'm wrong, but that's basically it. There's a ton of better characters that I've featured here, obviously, in terms of party compositions. And yeah, that's all I can think of regarding this fight. If you do have anything else to add, please leave it down in the comments below. Now, here is the part where I normally have story time, but at this point I don't really have anything else to talk about apart from maybe I'm probably not gonna play Genshin Impact anymore. I just feel like the pacing for Genshin Impact, I don't like the pacing when it comes to the story. I just wanted to get the story done, you know, and concentrate on endgame, but I don't know. I just stopped enjoying it after a little while. Maybe I'll pick it up later again, but at this point I'm not really sure. There's just some like very small issues, but there's a lot of small issues, you know, that for me anyway personally, when it comes to the game. So yeah, I don't really want this video to be longer than it is now, so I'll end the video right here, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel. I really do appreciate all the support that you guys give me. And of course, you can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Monchkinz Gaming. Again, leave down in the comments below if you think I missed anything in terms of strategy or something like that. When it comes to the characters, leave it all down in the comments below and let me know your team as well. And yeah, this is Monchkinz logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.